Okay, new day. It is cold outside. I'm telling you. Like 0. So, I put in, last night I just fabbed up and slapped in that rear cross member here for the, it's got a mount for the panner bar here. I haven't put the rest of the bracket on it yet, but I just tacked that in, and I'm going to leave that just tacked until I have the rear end built up and sitting in this chassis. I just, don't want to risk having to move that and cut it all out of there. So I did learn, though, that if you can pivot down on those rear shackle bolts, just remove the front bolts, and I cut the spacer blocks off the top, and this is a good opportunity to weld up these joints and get it all welded up and then put it right back up in there, or as much as I can. I probably won't weld the bottom yet, just because I'd like to flip it over before I do that, but I can spin that right down. We'll see how far I can go with it. Anyway, so yeah, and then once I get this done, I'm gonna push it back up in. I've got to hog these holes out a little bit here in the torque boxes just to make the body mounts fit. I'll get those in place, put this back up in, bolt it off, and then I'm at a point where it's ready to tie the front section to the back section. So hopefully this weekend we'll make some ground doing that, and it'll all kind of come together. Pretty exciting. Okay, got the rear welded up, rear rails. Didn't do the bottom yet. I'll wait till I flip the frame over so I can get nice welds on those. Put the body mounts in, drop the bolt down through. Now I'm going to ease this up into place and see if I can get that all lined back up and screw down through the hole. I've given myself quite a large hole there. It's a 1/2 inch bolt. I think that's a 3/4 inch opening ID. So I'll get this back up in. Once I get it up there, hopefully I can do it by myself, and I will, like I said, get some nuts on that, just snug that up, and start working on the mid rails. All right, so I got the outer mid rails cut, 45 on the front to come into the front clip, and then a taper in the back to fish plate it. I got one set up in here now, and ultimately what I need to do now is cut a relief in this area so that it can slide up in beside this floor pan. You could conceivably cut the floor pan and re-sheet metal around that, but there's really no need. It's probably less work to cut this frame rail. So, like I said, I have this one in here kind of mocked up right now. In the back, I'm going to make a plate that comes down this face and then over and picks this up. So that'll tie that all together nicely. I do have one area in here. It's going to be kind of tricky to get any substantial weld in, but we will we'll address that when we get to it. Other than that, that's kind of where I'm at. We'll see. Pretty happy with what I see so far. I think this is going to come together nice, and I will bring you back after I get an angle cut into this that I am happy with, and I can then go and throw it up in again and just test fit it before I plate it this time, just to make sure everything fits tight against the rails. Should be good. So I took a piece of 3/4 inch angle iron, used that as a guide, cut back as far as I needed to on both sides, gave myself a nice taper, and I just worked it out with some calipers here so that I made sure that my piece that I'm going to be welding in was pretty much exactly 2 inches, because that's what I have for stock. So rather than try to cut that all down, it was an easier play to make that taper exactly 2 inches. So just use that guide, and then I Put a little bend on each side of it. I'm going to test this now and see how it fits up in the chassis. And it's like a glove. This is going to fit beautifully. I just got to lay that piece of plate in there now, and that seems to fit very nicely. So I'll plate that, weld it up on the bench, get it back up here, tack it in place, and proceed to the next one. But yeah, that's gonna work great. It ties in, it fits nice up here, fits tight to the front rail, fits tight to the back rail. I can clamp it to draw it right in good when I'm ready to weld it. And again, this is another one. I'll try to get as much weld on as I can in here without compromising anything. And then once the whole thing is dropped out and sitting on the floor, I'll be able to weld it up 100%. But yeah, this is gonna work out beautifully. I'm pretty happy with this. So we'll move on to the next one. Okay, there it is. Welded up. Summed up, just gonna let it cool off a bit now. All pretty good. I picked up one of these. It's a little jig for brake bending in a vise, mostly for doing plate steel and brackets. It works really slick. I'm pretty happy with that. Getting nice sharp bends right on a very sharp line. Nice setup. I'm gonna making the brackets and stuff moving forward. That's gonna be a big help. But yeah, this one's about complete. I'm going to move on and do the other one now. Okay, it's everything tacked in and looking pretty decent. The outside rails fit up nice. I gave them a fairly steady bead, although one of them back there, I had some problems with my cup, so I have to grind that out once it's on the floor. But everything else looks pretty good. I got these smaller stabilizers here as more of a web stabilization. I'm actually thinking I could either gusset this down a little bit more just to give it a little more strength through there, but there's a lot. This isn't going anywhere. I'm probably just being paranoid at this point. But it's looking pretty decent. Everything's squared up, pretty level, flat across the bottom. There's nothing hanging down. So the next step, I guess, is to drop this out, set it on the floor, and get it, start welding up the top. And that's probably a good job for tomorrow. I'll probably pull these rear shackles out first, get those bolts out, then lower it down onto some jack stands, and then lift the body back off it again. As I'm out of room here, so that makes the most sense to me. Then, start hitting the next steps, but that's probably about it for today. I'm gonna, like I said, I've got a little bit of cleanup to do around here. This place has gotten to be a sty, but I'm pretty happy with what I got so far. It matches the model really well. Everything measured up beautifully. I got space between my, let's see if I can see it, between my bottom of my rocker seam, my pinch edge, and the rails. Everything is good. There's nothing touching. There was one area that got really close up here, right around this this flange here. I could flatten that out a little bit with a dolly and a hammer probably, but other than that, I think I'm in good shape. And the next step, like I said, get it down on the ground, weld everything up permanent like, possibly even put it on the rotisserie so I can flip it upside down and do more. But yeah, that's kind of where we're at right now. I'll once I get it all out and on the floor, I'll bring you back and show you what we got. All right, next day. It is cold. -5 Fahrenheit. -15 for those in the People's Republic of Kanakistan. Celsius. It is cold, really cold. So I'm ready to drop this. I'm gonna put it on the ground. I just tacked my screw jacks onto the bottom so they can't move around. Just way easier to do that up in the air. So I'll drop that, level it all up, and pull the frame and get it back up in the air. So yeah, that's the next step. It's all ready to come out. And I've already pulled the rear shacker bolts and the middle body bolts, and everything just stayed right where it's supposed to be. So that's a really good sign. So I'm gonna drop it down now, get it leveled up, and I'll bring you back and show you what we got. And there it is, the piece that GM forgot. And honestly, I got about 4 days into this so far. So, you know, the fab end of it is not that bad. Some, you know, fairly basic tools, plasma cutter, welder, chop saw. It's you know, helps having the CAD program, but you don't necessarily need that. You could, you know, bend a coat hanger and match the bends if you had to. But it can be done. So far, I've got less time in this than it would have taken me to drive down and back to Knoxville to pick up the other one. So I'm pretty happy with it. I'm gonna spend some time now welding the top joints that were inaccessible when it was against the body. I'm just out of room in here, so I'll go through, get everything welded up, you know, finish putting some other plating on this where it needs to be, and we'll go from there. I'm waiting for the rear end housing. Should be here another week or two. That was the only thing that took a little longer than expected. But I've got enough to do here to keep me busy for a while. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna get all the pieces put together here and welded up final on the tops. Then I still may do a gusset in here. I just feel like that screams for some sort of gusset. Whether I just do a simple one or I come back further, I don't know. I could come back to that second yellow mark because that's where the tub kicks down on the body. I've got plenty of room until there. But I don't know if I really need it. I just feel like that could use a gusset there for sure. I might just do something small and simple there to tie it all together once I get it welded up. So I'm gonna take these body bushings off and just start welding. It's gonna be a lot of just fooling around with that today. Then I'm gonna, once I have it welded, I'm probably going to, I'm gonna get it onto the rotisserie next. I brought those in so they could, they were in the other garage there where it's cold, so I brought those in so they could warm up. I'm gonna slap this on the rotisserie so that I can continue to, you know, flip it around and weld up joints and get everything finalized. I do have a couple joints I need to grind out. The welder kind of screwed up on me on one piece over here. So I wanna, you know, just spend the time and get this all summed right up so we're in good shape. That way I can, even on the rotisserie, I might weld more. Might wait to do some of the top stuff on the rotisserie because it's a lot easier to deal with when it's up at, you know, waist height for us older fellas. But anyway, this is that's it. It looks pretty good. I'm not complaining. I think it came out really nice. So once I get this welded up, I'll bring you back. But you know, the key takeaway here is this is a stock body. Everything in it, I didn't have to alter anything with the exception of taking out the front section of this frame rail, and I just capped it back here. So you can see I just capped it off. So, you know, you could do this conceit, and this is a mini tub car, obviously. It would be probably easier on a non-mini tub car, but you got plenty of room to get down through there, given you just give yourself these little chamfers here. That makes all the difference. And you can see I chamfered the main rails down through there, and that just fits right up into that nice crease along the side of the pinch joint. So no big deal. So my point is, you could do this to a stock car, you could do this to a rebuilt car, mini tubbed or not. This is not that hard. So it looks a little intimidating, but trust me, it's not rocket science. So I'm gonna go through, take a minute, level this up, see where we're at level-wise. And my floor is pretty level in here, but not perfect. So I've got it on the screw jacks, and I'll just, tweak that around until I like it, and then get to work. Okay, it's all welded up. I think that's gonna about do it. I got all the top welds, bottom welds, everything looks good. Healed all this in, put a plate in here to help strengthen it, filled this gap, top and bottom. This is a very important spot right here. So most of the forward thrust is positioned here, which is going to get transitioned through all the body mounts the way this is set up. Back here doesn't really take a lot of abuse, but it's all set. So looking pretty good. I think pretty happy with this. I'm going to, like I said, I still haven't decided, but I feel like I want to do some sort of gusset, maybe even just down from here to here. I'll box it in so that it's not a catch-all, but something like that, just to kind of even that up. It's plenty rugged enough through this center section though. Feeling fine about that. I don't really feel like I need to add any more strength there. There's an opportunity, it can't hurt. My problem is I feel like as soon as I put something there, I'm going to want to put something, run something through there. It's going to be right in the damn way. But yeah, you just got to roll the dice. But everything else looks good. I was able to just use my existing rear body shackles to put this on the rotisserie, which was really nice. So this is where I would usually mount right to the shackle on the body, and I was just able to bolt it right off. Worked out slick. No issues. I still haven't welded this piece in yet because I'm not 100% sure it's in the right location, and I won't be until the rear end is mocked up in this. So I just tacked this piece in, let it move around. I ended up under 14 feet, so it's like 13 foot 6 inches, which means the powder coater down the road for me should be able to fit it in his oven. So I'm thinking now is probably now I'm thinking powder coat it rather than just use chassis paint. So overall, I'm in good shape here. I think this came out great. Pretty happy with everything. It's certainly rugged enough, certainly way more rugged than the stock chassis. I got the Heights front end set up. So the next step is probably going to be, well, I'm still waiting for the rear end housing. That's probably 2 weeks out. Says it's going to ship in 2 weeks. Then probably going to mock up the front end next. Start putting all that together, make sure everything fits right. Then set it back down on the jack stands and put the motor in it. And once the motor's in the chassis, lower the body down and see how much trouble I'm in on the transmission. I do have a tunnel extension kit that I purchased that is here now. So we'll see. I don't know. We'll see. It's got a cross member setup that came with the front clip. But who knows what we're into there. So I just want to mock all that up. I've got the LS motor brackets from motor mounts from Heights. So that should make for a clean setup. I did go through and take a sandpaper flap disc wheel and open these holes up a little bit because they were super tight on the body bushings, and I just want them to be able to have a little breathing room, especially if I powder coat it. There's going to be a 10 thou thickness there anyway. Maybe not quite that much, but something. So yeah, looking good. I've just got to wire wheel some of these, clean up the flash, the flux, and go from there. But tell me what you think. I think it's coming out pretty good. I'm very happy with what I got. I was just telling my wife it was taking me longer to build this than it would have to drive to Knoxville to get the other chassis and bring it back. So hey, whatever. So time isn't really a big problem here. I've got a lot of the brackets designed. I can start cutting the brackets for the rear end and the 4-link system, but I won't be able to
not really comfortable attaching anything until I get the rear end housing in here and I can get everything mounted up to that and feel good about how that's coming together. Just there's too many unknowns, but I did put, tack in the pander bar bracket only because I wanted to maintain that width as I was welding things up. So I didn't want anything to, spread or contract or snap, crackle, pop, or any of that. I leveled this up sitting on the floor, and I was a little nervous about how well everything would level up, being that I built it off the body. It leveled up really well, within the bubble on every direction, so it's good. You don't really need a jig to build one of these if you're building it to a particular body, but if you're obviously going to build a bunch of them to a universal, then you would need a jig to, if you were going to build a lot of these. So without a body in hand. So I think I'm going to call it a day here. I've got to come up and clean up the shop this week. It is just out of control. I got no room for nothing. So once I get things cleaned up next weekend, I think we'll be probably fitting up that front end. That would probably be a good segment to do. And either that or I'll start building brackets for the rear end or something. So we'll see. Yeah, so hope you enjoyed it. Like, subscribe, share, all that jazz. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.